Today on Tattoo Tabletop, I got a package. Let's take a look.
Here at Tattoo Tabletop, we have a lot of fun, so be sure to like, share, subscribe. It's all completely free and it helps me out. And if you really want to help me out, come join our Patreon. Link is in the description where you can come post and talk about your favorite minis. Now back to the video.
Okay, this is my package from Tree of Tales. So I had this ordered. Again, this video is not sponsored by them, but I am very, very excited to crack into it. I will say, spoiler, I already cracked into it a little bit. I had to see it. I got it last night, so I just wanted to get it done. Take a look, but let's go ahead and let's reveal this together. So I'm just going to pop this guy open here. Right off the bat, they included a lovely thank you with a gauge, a combat gauge here, and I did get it custom. So we do have, and obviously this was packed, incredibly nicely. Like there's this, all of this was wrapped around it multiple times. So it was traveling internationally, and it traveled incredibly well. No damage or anything like that, but I got this nice and custom ordered, and I just have to say the detail is incredible. They did such a good job getting that onto there, getting that printed on there. So big shout out and thank you to them. Let's go ahead and get a little closer. There we go. So let's crack into it. What do we got? So first and foremost, the lid is magnetic. So it pops up. Very nice. And it's got little magnets here on the inside. So we'll set this over here after hitting that multiple times. So here's what it's got. So I did the larger dice tray here. So this specifically holds the 60 millimeter because I have a lot of Baron of Dice. So I just like to be able to have these just slot in, because if anyone's ever played me, I usually keep my dice in packs of 5. So this is actually super nice. It can hold plenty. I believe it holds up to 60. And then, of course, if you ever need them, you just boom. So absolutely love that, and I'll fill that up here shortly. But that piece is also magnetized and goes over this a little bit where you can keep individual pieces. I also kind of like it because, realistically, you could also just, it's a dice tray. So that actually is super nice as well. And that's a little pack of bundle. And then this is a nice little counter holder, which I also appreciate. So, if you got command points or victory points or anything like that, you could use them. Or I suppose you could also realistically use it as like wound markers, something like that. But it fits incredibly well there. And those two, I have 2 of those that just slot down there. And then, of course, we have another little Gribbly's box here that holds all of this. So you can put your combat gauges, stuff like that in there. Let me just grab this guy out. So realistically, you can throw that in there. You can throw other miscellaneous dice. I'll probably put like D20s or some of my other life counters in there. But this is also, once again, magnetized, so super nice. And there's a little ridge right here, so you can just slide that back on there. Just hops back in here. These two going horizontally like this. So let's go ahead. I'm going to get my usual battle box, and I will start filling it up. So let's take a look. Okay, so let's hop back into here. So I packed it with a lot of the stuff that I would use at any given tournament or anything like that. So we'll just pop right on in. So open up here again. So filled it up with a bunch of dice. I still have an entire row here, which is awesome. So we got to about 49, so we can fit 50, 51, 52, 53, 54, 55, and then there's 60. So this one was also kind of nice because I like to show this off. So obviously, I do have my Astra Militarum. I still yet to play them, but I love the Baron of Dice order dice. These are incredible. Just have all the Astra Militarum ones on here. So super nice to have there. So you can have that there. Comes off in the pair again, just very easy. Just slide, roll, use. But that's fantastic there. Pop those back in. I'll probably spend a couple seconds like trying to fill them in there, but for the most part, they fit very nicely. We pop this off, which again, you can always set off to the side. I put in some of the combat gauges. So here's just a couple I have. I have a ton more, but realistically, I just wanted to set in a couple. Laser pointer, very important for line of sight and stuff like that. That fits in there, no problem. This is the nicer one that I got from the Las Vegas Open. Nice little counters here. Of course, I had to use my Archon Scary dice and the flush tear one, so that's also, again, very useful. And for the token box here, just going to pop that out. Again, I put another combat gauge in here, and this is where I'd put, maybe health dice or some other tokens. I'm working on my Drakari, so I could put pain tokens in there, stuff like that. And again, you can also just use that bottom one as a dice tray, for fits plenty in there actually really nicely. So not too bad. Could maybe I might actually even put like a felt on the bottom because I actually custom made a dice tray. Actually, you know what? Hold that thought. So here's one of the first dice trays I ever made. I made it myself, but basically I bought one of these, boxes from like a Michaels, and then I found some like felt double-sided adhesives, and I like cut out the specific sizes that I need. So I cut the strips for the sides, and then I of course did like the bottom. There's like it's tucked into the corners there, so I tried to measure that out so that I could always just use that as a dice tray myself. So I might do something similar for this on the bottom, but otherwise, it's actually not too loud, not too bad. So let's put it through the rigors. Let's grab 3 rows worth here. So really not bad, and you can tell that it can hold like actually a pretty fair amount of dice, which is super super nice for any of the dice rolling there. So you can always just pop this in, roll it around. And actually, does this come out? So this is the fixed part, so it's stuck in there, but it's got all the magnet bits. And then of course you can just always put the dice back in the tray. So let's just go ahead and let's talk about what I think while I pack these things back up. So, grand total for me for US came to about just over $100, and then there was some more expensive shipping. This is from Sweden, but what do I think? I think it's great. I actually do really like it. I think it's a very nice battle box. It's very well constructed. Again, in my case, the customizability here was absolutely fantastic. I did see this at the Las Vegas Open. There was a gentleman who had just one of the basic ones that I believe had gold for the trim on it. I do appreciate the customizability. The customizability did not cost any extra. I just needed to provide an SVG file for it. But one thing to note, this is one thing that I figured out looking at it. So here's a Warpfire 9-inch stick that I use pretty decently, for deep strikes and stuff like that. It doesn't really quite fit in here, even going corner to corner or something like that. So it would still have to be packed separately or kept separate. It runs the full length. I think they might have some bigger sizes than this potentially, but overall, I really like it. I think it's definitely worth it. I thoroughly enjoy it, and it will absolutely be getting used in my future games because it's just nice to have something that holds something like this. I will, even just as a point of uh, comparison here. On here, let's actually test this. So, just flip things upside down. So if you're using the counters, these need to go in here, but you can pull these out for that. But otherwise, all the dice stayed in place, which is actually really great as well. But just for comparison here, I do have another battle box that I like to use. So let me get that. So here is the other battle box that I like to use. This is from Battle Kiwi, ordered from New Zealand. Obviously, you can see the intricate. This is obviously MDF. There is some magnetization, but not from the lid. So this is a lid that actually does double as a dice tray and does have the felt, which is actually super nice. So when you're rolling, it's just nice and quiet, but really great material. So there's that. You have this other lid piece, which actually allows you to do, it has objective turners and stuff like that. You can score your tactic cards here. You can do your command points, what turn it is, et cetera, et cetera. So that part's nice. So this one, I will say it does fit the 9-inch stick, and I do keep it in here. The corner makes it a little difficult, but you can finagle it so it fits in there. I keep all my dice in here, and then of course all my life dice in here. And this is where I'd put, my smaller Army Painter laser pointer for line of sight in there. But it takes off one layer here, and you've got this one. This is where I put a lot of my data sheets or data scrolls and my some of my other stuff in there. And then of course tape measure also fits in here. So just for example, here's like a generic tape measure that I have in here. Actually, this one I don't think will work because it's got the tab. Hold on. So just for example, I can't find my Games Workshop one. I might have left it at Las Vegas. So that's been a while. Um, but so, you know, you can see here, it's got the little tab. The Games Workshop one that doesn't have this little clip actually does fit in here, and you can actually completely close the lid just for comparison, but this one doesn't because it's got that little tab. So if you do have one without the tab, it actually fits in there. Again, the War Scroll cards, you know, you can put stuff in there. And then this one's actually really nice for the tactical decks. So this is, and these are add-ons and stuff like that. So I added all these. So that could be a good expansion point for these battle boxes potentially, especially because these are magnetized. So again, it all just stacks on top of each other and just closes. It is a little bit thicker because you have these multiple levels, and you know, when I'm traveling with it, it's in my backpack or something like that, and these trays will shift a little bit, but the magnets are overall pretty strong. But again, for the price point, I think this is actually really nice. And if you do, or you are interested in potentially one of these tattoo tabletop dice trays, feel free to comment down below. Let me know. There's a chance I might be looking into ordering a few of these as well, just to hold and to potentially sell. But otherwise, you can check out the Tree of Tales in the description down below. I included my link down there for them, so you can go check them out and order a battle box for yourself, and maybe get something customized for yourself. Maybe your own local club, maybe your local team, and you can get that ordered down there. Until next time, I've been Tattoo Tabletop, and go paint something.